Bitcoin, crypto, bubbles, passive indexation. There's a lot of financial jargon out there. Old Mutual can help you make sense of it all and give you great advice to make the right decisions. If you've got a question or want to know how to get the most out of your money, call them on 0860 60 60 60 or speak to an Old Mutual financial advisor or your broker. Today's the day. Get great financial advice so you can do great things. Old Mutual is a licensed financial services provider. Now, look, I've always been impressed by Cameron van der Burgh. He's very quick through the water. I mean, if you've got a fish you need to catch, if you're Jean on Survivor and you're hungry and there's a fish in a pond and you need it caught, you send Cameron van der Burgh in after the fish and he'll catch it with his bare hands. But I've just learned something about him that makes me even more impressed. I mean, Olympic gold medals and Commonwealth gold medals and world championships. Yeah, whatever. But as a kid, you won the JSE Schools Markets Challenge.
That's correct.
When you were in grade 11.
Grade 11, yeah.
Now, that's impressive.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. We won it in 2011. 2005. I was in grade 11, and then in matric also placed, I think, second, if I remember correctly. I do have to say a big thank you to my brother because he played the previous year, which got me into, obviously, what are you doing? I want to do the same. So being a competitive spirit, I got into the swing of things, and I think now in hindsight, obviously knowing a lot more about the market, I think a lot of it was pure luck.
So I think much of it probably is. When did you know anything about markets? Was it your brother purely, or did mum or dad participate in markets?
No, my parents didn't, but my brother is quite financially astute. He's CA with his masters and going on to do his doctorate. So he's always been there, I should say, a good figure for me also as to how to look after money. But he was then obviously was studying accounting at university and obviously helped me get into that. So yeah, I mean, if I look back now, like I say, I even think of stocks that I was investing in. I don't even think they're listed anymore. Like we made a killing on, I think it was one mining stock called JCI.
That's Brett Kebbell. Yes. He made a killing out of that as well. Yes.
Yeah. So, and then we used to play the dividend game a lot, and worked quite well for me.
Was that a useful thing, the JSE Schools Challenge? Because if it was, Nikki Newton-King is going to be very pleased with herself.
Yes, it was. I think it's a brilliant platform for young people to be exposed to the markets with obviously no risk.
But it wasn't part of a school curriculum, though.
No.
It was just an extra thing that you guys did.
It was just something fun that you could do on the side, which started eating into my homework time because you're obviously spending more time looking at what the market is doing and your P&Ls versus obviously your schoolwork. But I mean, it really helped me, and I think that's really what got me into investing. I have a big passion for that, and taught me a lot of the basics of what is a share, what is the stock market, what is a position size, what is a dividend, what is a warrant, So, I would, really advise anyone, that has children just to get into it because, as I said, there's no risk. It's a lot of fun, and it's something that you can also maybe do with your kid.
But the bug bit.
Yes. Yeah, it did. Something that I enjoy.
Where were you at school?
I went to Crawford College.
You went to Crawford. We just spoke to your old boss.
Nice.
He's not a headmaster, is he? No, because the Crawford College's results came out today. That through Advotech.
Yes.
Are you invested in Advotech?
No, I am not.
You paid enough fees over the years to Crawford College. But did you find that was a good education as far as it was less structured than other private schools perhaps was? But was that really a good environment for you as an athlete to excel as well? Because schools like that, they focus on churning out great academic results. That's their job. They're not that focused on the sport, are they?
Crawford, I think, which the reason that I went there was that I used to go to a school called Cornwall Hill, where my brother also went, and academically they were brilliant. They did IEB and I did very well there, but it got to the point where I was swimming so much and I was traveling a lot, and Crawford was able to offer me a scholarship to come. So they did have an interest in swimming specifically, which is why I went to the school, and B, it was great for my career and for my academic career because they were also willing to give me time off to go train, or not to go train, sorry, to go race. But let's say if I was away for a week, a couple of days before, I would come in a little bit earlier, do some extra homework with the teachers, and then let's say catch up the first half, well, shall we say, already do the first half of the week that I was missing. The second half, I would catch up when I got back. So it was great. And I really do owe them a lot.
And everybody who excels in sport has got to be a massively self-disciplined individual. You're self-disciplined to train when nobody else would wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning to go and swim for 2 hours before going and starting at school or going to work or whatever it might be. That self-discipline is the thing that is probably the most common trait amongst highly successful global sportsmen. Yes?
Yeah, I definitely agree. I mean, the saying goes, obviously, if everything was easy, everybody would have, $1 million or be the president or be an Olympic champion. So, of course, dedication is the key, and that's something that I have to say thank you to my parents for that drilled it in. And, I still remember vividly there was one day, my mother sort of used that womanly reverse psychology where she said, I didn't want to go to training. And she said, okay, if I don't take you today, I'm not going to take you for the rest of the week. And that sort of got, that feeling of like missing out, not being able to improve. And
now, some kids would go, excellent.
Yeah. But then again, I guess they don't maybe love the sport that they did. And I really do love swimming. And, but through wanting to be the best and wanting to excel, obviously I did learn these principles of dedication, sacrifice, commitment, being able to have this sort of single track mind to almost do anything that's, shall we say, within the law to improve yourself and drive yourself, thrust yourself into this position where you can perform and be the best that you can be.
And it's a very individualistic sport as well. It's not a hockey, it's not a rugby or a cricket or a soccer. It is you, and then the pool conditions are the same for everybody.
Correct.
The water temperature is the same for everybody. The wind direction is the same for everybody. It's up to you and you alone as to whether or not you excel at that particular moment.
Yeah, correct. Which is why I was so attracted to it, is that, there's nowhere to hide, and what you get out is directly proportional to what you put in. So, and again, that just comes back to the principle, which I'm so grateful for. Whatever I do, the rest of my life, I can sort of take that as a backbone and as a base to work off. And, swimming was always, I was always looking for ways how I could be better, how I could improve, how I could build on what I did last season. And, as I said, that's really put me in good stead to whatever I want to put my life, or whatever I set my mind to.
So you are therefore a committed follower of markets. You're a participant in markets.
Correct.
Does that discipline follow through? From the swimming pool to a computer screen where you're watching in the real world now, because it's no longer the JSE schools game. Does it follow through?
Yes, it does. Not without learning your school fees, of course. I think when you get started and you obviously start getting some success, you do start getting, shall we say, putting in positions that you shouldn't be doing, and your risk is getting a bit high, and it gets wiped out overnight, and you sort of start again back at zero. So there are those lessons that you do learn, but again, it just comes down to also having a structure and understanding. Putting in the time, understanding what your outcome is and what your goal is. For me, I started more focusing on the commodity side, because I felt that I had more success on supply and demand models and being able to understand and predict future prices versus the Steinhoffs. And, you get funny things, obviously, especially in South Africa. It's quite difficult sometimes to trade because you obviously have a lot of political interference and, tariffs and this and that gone to mining, and, CEOs do funny things from time to time. So, global trade on a commodity is a lot, I think personally, like I say, for me, easier to understand.
But you must be one of 1 million participants in a market.
Of course.
Or 10 million. I don't know.
Yeah.
I have no idea how many people. But do you sit at home in your pajamas till lunchtime and trading, and then finally you go off to go and have a swim?
Well, I'm more of I would say like a big wave rider. So I start, I look for directional trade and I, get strong conviction on something, and then I go and I build my size according to obviously my value, and I feel confident with that. And that's, as I said, steered me in good ground so far. So I don't, shall we say, you can build a plausible model in almost any direction that you want it to go in, because there is so much information out there.
Too much? Or?
I think too much, for sure. And when you sort of more be selective of which indicators you're looking at, and not staring at a screen every single day, I feel that, you get a bit of a better, as I said, a global macro understanding of things, and you make better decisions.
Do you make a living out of it?
It makes a good, it does. I wouldn't say that it's my primary income. It's as I said, it's more, it's an investment, obviously. And of course, it would be very silly for me to put all my money into one asset class. I mean, of course, commodities are very dangerous. But that being said, I've been, touched with, very fortunate enough, in my trading career. And
what's your earliest memory of money? I mean, you've got memories of your mum saying, if you're not going to go to training today, that's fine. You don't have to. But I'm not taking you the rest of the week. She understood you clearly. Were you given pocket money as a kid? I mean, being on the road a lot and traveling a lot, your money needs would have been different to most kids who simply went to school every day.
Yeah, my first memory of money was actually from my grandmother. She used to slip me those old purple 5 rand notes back in the day as like sort of this like pocket money back then, and it was so cute. I mean, I don't know, I must have been 6, 7 years old or something like that. So, I mean, I just used to take that and I couldn't spend it anyway because I was like 6 years old. You don't even know what to do with money, but you just obviously kept it, and eventually I remember just obviously keeping sort of like a bit of a piggy bank. And another really fun memory that I had was, for my birthday, my mother used to give us, or my parents used to give us 1,000 rand.
What?
Yeah, it was quite fortunate.
My kids are going to listen to this podcast. It's not what happens in our house.
And, I asked my mother if she could please take that 1,000 rand and give it to me in 10 rand notes, that I could feel like, I was super rich, because I had then like, obviously all these 10 rand notes, throw it around, and it was great fun.
I'm beginning to get the sense of quite an unhealthy with money. What shaped that attitude? I mean, did your mum and dad look at you and say, fine, here are 110 rand notes, roll around in it. Mm-hmm. Now put it away.
No, we did always put it away. And as I said, I think, I'm fortunate that I come from a family, where they, at a crucial age, I would say, I was fortunate enough to start earning some good money at a young age as a swimmer. I never, fortunately enough, made any, silly purchases. So, my parents were always, and my brother was very geared towards savings, investments. So, that sort of also stayed me in good ground, and I've been able to save most of the money that I have, and make good investments. It's just become, I think it's a principle that I've always had.
At what stage did you start saving properly? I mean, did you put money into a high interest bearing account and then start buying some shares or buy unit trusts, or how did you start?
I at one stage had quite a bit of money in, there was a Standard Bank, high interest account, which I think it was like 10.5% at one stage, money market account. It was amazing. So obviously, that was quite safe back in the day. And then, I did have quite a bit of shares, obviously, just on some various portfolios. And obviously then I have my own portion that I dabble with, which is only about 10% of my net value, my net worth. So it's always been nice. And of course, when my 10% gets a little bit over 10%, then I funnel back to the rest of the portfolio.
So that's today, and you have that self-discipline. If you have a really good couple of months and suddenly your 10 goes to 15, you have the good sense to take the 15.
Of course.
What happens if the 10 goes to 5? Then do you dig in and take 5?
I said,
or do you have to work it back up?
No,
to the
you got to work your way up. I think you got to always look at your high level mark and try and get back there. And I think it's a good recipe, obviously, to eat away at your capital. If you keep trying to put safe money into, obviously, high risk money, and you always. Hindsight is always perfect vision, and it's always, you always think you got the right trade and it's going to work, and let me put all my money in, and if I'd only put 100% of my value, I would have X amount by now. But as it could just flip on you. And as I said, I did learn that lesson very early on, where did diligently work my way up to a good portion of a 10%.
What was that big mistake? Because it must be the biggest.
No, just sizing, trade sizing. So obviously working a lot on CFDs and options and,
contracts for difference and options, which is called in some parts going to the casino of markets. I mean, if there's a high risk part of the market,
true.
You're taking positions, you're then taking something called leverage.
Correct.
So instead of investing 1 rand, you're actually effectively investing 10.
Correct.
And
if the trade goes against you,
you're down 100.
That's
100%.
Yeah. So of course, you have your stop losses, but it was just foolish in the sense of, as I said, the trade size to the value. I got a little bit too confident and put a little bit too much. and of course went against me, and it's just like that. It's all gone.
I'm talking to Cameron van der Burgh, who, as you can tell, is a bit of a dab hand at investing in markets. He is a bit of a trader. He is a guy who's won some medals in the swimming pool too. But for once, we're not. Mark Lewis is sitting champing at the bit going, why are you not talking about swimming? Because this is about money, Mark Lewis. Listen closely. When did you earn your first money?
My first income that I earned was I finished school. I was 18 years old. My father said that he would fund me for 2 years to the Olympic Games. So I've graduated 2006 at school. And Olympics was in 2008. So he said, all right, I will fund you, as in your swim fees. You can live in my house for free, and I will feed you. But your pocket money you have to work for. And I started working at Polo as a sales assistant. Yeah, and that was my first.
You still loyal to the brand today?
No, funny enough, I'm not actually.
That's a Ralph Lauren horse.
Okay. That's correct.
It's going toward the inside.
Well,
yes.
Yeah, of course, when you work at a shop, you also learn the difference between what's Polo and Ralph Lauren. So, but yeah, I was working for 20 rand an hour, 8-hour shifts. I would go train in the morning, work the day shift, and
did anybody know who you were at the time?
No, I was nobody at the time. So, guys would just come in and obviously like boss you around and something like that. Eventually when I did, fortunate enough, break through and make it, I still went back to the shop and, saw the guys and everyone like, that was pretty funny. Yeah, I can't believe you used to work. Yeah. But
what did retail teach you? I mean, retail is hard.
Hard work. Yeah. I think,
and you come across all sorts, and there's some horrible but good life lessons in it.
Yeah. It taught me to be good to the ground people. You might be controlling the pieces on the chessboard, but those pieces need to listen to you and obviously like execute. So it was very different, a very different experience for me being that sort of bottom of the totem pole and understanding how hard it is, and working for minimum wage and dealing with things that you don't necessarily want to deal with, and you get to the point where you're obviously like, is this worth it? And I'm pretty sure a lot of people are forced into positions where they don't want to be in that situation. So be good to them, be kind to them, pay them well, or, pay them what they're worth. Till this day, if I ever walk into any shop, I'm the nicest guy to the shop assistant. I clean up after myself, put on the hanger, put it back. Thank you very much, sir. I call them sir and ma'am. Thank you.
Suck up. That's coming from Burgh. He called me sir. It's PR. But it's good to have those lessons. It really is.
Correct.
Because you feel what it's like to be on the receiving end of some of the worst behavior of humankind. Now, give me a sense, please, of swimming as a mechanism to, it's not golf. It's not tennis. There's sponsorships. Mm-hmm. There is support. You can do endorsements. Can somebody make a living as a professional swimmer just from prize money, for example, not from the endorsements and all the other stuff that comes with it?
You can, but unfortunately in this country we only have two, which is Chad de Clos and myself. So unless you are an Olympic champion or winning, we're fortunate that every year we bringing back a Commonwealth gold or a World Champs or Olympic gold or so on. And it pretty much needs to be a gold. If you're not getting those golds, then
who came second after you? Nobody knows.
Nobody
exactly.
knows. Correct.
Well, that's the trouble.
It is very true.
And as Michael Phelps learned to his cost to Chad, it's 1/100th of a second.
It's cutthroat.
The touch matters.
Yeah, which is, I think in most things in life, obviously, if you're the best, you will be rewarded. Of course, nobody cares for second best, and also shall we say. You only need to mess up once, and people forget you. Bring a new product to the market or so on. If there's bad experience, that's it. You're done. So you need to be the best.
Yeah, and as long as you stay top of the tree, the endorsements keep coming,
Correct.
The sponsorships keep coming. You get the modelling contracts. You get to drive the nice cars and all of that stuff that comes along with it.
We Chad and myself are fortunate enough to live a comfortable lifestyle, and I think we could comfortably compare maybe our income to that of, let's say, a Springbok rugby player. But again, it's only if you are an Olympic champion.
But if you And that's all well and good, but every sports person's career is a fairly limited career in terms of top end sport. I mean, the guys like Gary Player and Greg Norman and those guys still play a bit of golf on the seniors tours.
Correct.
But they don't earn the bucks that the top end golfers do now, and they never did in their careers. But they've done okay. It comes to an end of a career. Have you got retirement etched into a diary somewhere?
I'm at the tail end of my career, so I do take it now 6 months at a time. And I had I had a great Commonwealth Games and walked over the gold there. And I've got World Champs again in December. It's a short course version, which I'm very well tailored to. So looking forward also to racing there. And as I said, I'll get there in December and feel, am I still happy? Do I still feel that in 6 months' time I will be able to walk away with the gold medal? Because it's
about calling it before it's called. Suddenly you're not in the medals. You go,
exactly.
I should have quit.
No, exactly, 100%. You need to sort of, for me, I feel like I'd like to end off on top, and I've that's my standard that I abide to, and that I've been fortunate enough to reach. And if I feel that I cannot maintain that standard anymore, that will be the day that I will hang up the cap and goggles.
What's the best thing you ever did with money? One single event that defines your luck, your genius, your ability, your wisdom.
I would say, I'd probably say, on a romantic side, I'd probably say buying my wife's wedding ring.
Oh, that wasn't the question. Because you got married in
I know
Greece.
She's listening, so I do have to.
And it's a new marriage. It would be a pity for it to end so soon.
I would say the best investment, though, I think, for long term would definitely be putting my money in as early as I could to investments and watching it grow.
At what age was that?
As soon as I started as soon as I started earning money as a swimmer, which was at about 18 years old. So I've got about 12 years, obviously, of growth now in my investment.
And your timing was perfect because, you hit the Olympics in 2008 at the height of the financial crisis.
Yep.
The JSE was a third of its value. The Dow halved.
Yeah.
Everything was...
The bull run has just been running.
Incredibly cheap, and you've had the best run in markets.
Correct.
Does that make you think you're something of a markets genius? Or are
No.
you in touch with your investor mortality?
No, I think it's just your luck. Obviously, even if you look at the current market bull run, it just feels like it's been spurred on by, obviously, fiscal stimulus and monetary policy. I don't really see that besides the big tech stocks, obviously there hasn't been insane amounts of value being added. So there's a book that I once read, I think it's called The Island of Jackal Creek or Creek or something like that, but it's all about monetary policy and how it's formed and who controls it and something like that, and just directly relating back to our bull market and how it's gone on for so long, and the stimulus that keeps giving and the interest rates and so on, and just interesting to see how long it'll keep going until things start falling. Obviously now the bond yields are obviously inverted now in the US, and obviously that's a big thing, so it should be exciting to see what pans out.
When you invest money, when you buy things in extravagances, let's talk about extravagances. I want some dirt on Cameron van der Burgh. Have you ever wasted money on anything?
All the time, of course.
What's your biggest extravagance?
My biggest extravagance, I would probably say...
New goggles every time you swim. No.
No, fortunately, I do get sponsored that, so thank you to my sponsor, Arena.
Arena.
Shameless plug.
Arena, yes.
I do love to travel, and I do love good food and good wine. So I would probably say, every now and then when you do buy that expensive bottle of wine, you do ask yourself, for 750 milliliters, is that really worth it? But, it's, you create good memories with good friends. And so I'd probably say, food, wine, and travel is my guilty pleasure. And on a real investment basis, it's probably one of the worst things you could do. Yeah.
No, it could, but you got to live, don't you?
You got to live, of course. And that's obviously where you sort of, you can't be greedy and can't get to that point of where is money too much.
What do you refuse to spend money on?
I refuse to spend money on business class flights. I think they are so overly priced on my personal capacity.
No, but if you're going to a tournament, you need to be comfortable. And you're a tall guy. You need a bit of room. Your shoulders aren't the most narrow shoulders.
No, I think more in my personal capacity is in when I'm traveling for holiday or for just domestic or something like that. I think when I look at the pricing, it's obviously quite absorbent. I'd probably say something like that. That really grates me.
And if money was no object, what would you do with it?
If money was no object, what would I do? Good question. I think, what would I buy? Is that correct?
What would you do? It's a more open-ended question than...
Okay, if money was an object, I would probably... So I know it sounds cheesy, but I'm fortunate enough, as I said, in my own capacity, but I do a lot of work with my charity, which is Steps. And Steps, it's quite cool because you get to, in essence, it costs 2,500 Rand to fix a kid that has clubfoot when they're born.
Yeah.
So it's only 2,500 Rand.
That's amazing, actually.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a pretty low-cost operation.
It's a low cost, exactly. And it's not even an operation. It's kids are born with clubfoot, which is, for the listeners, it's when the kids are the feet are inversed.
Yeah.
And all they do is they just put plaster of Paris when they're at a young age, and just because they quite
straighten the
correct. 2,500 Rand from when the kid is born until about 6-7 months, which then they fix for life. And I think probably something like that. Just give obviously as much money as I could to something on that basis.
That was the right answer. You pass. You are free to go. Cameron van der Burgh, thank you very much for coming in.
Thank you.
World champion Cameron van der Burgh, one of the world's best breaststrokers. Also, a bit of a dab hand with money. Cameron van der Burgh this evening.